last session, you had been engaged in investigations and interrogations with famous or infamous hitman Jimmy Calloway in Boston's revitalized warehousing and docks area. After the two of you separated, as naturally happens after coming down from a period of intense excitement, after day after day after day of exhausting activity, the demanding voice of fatigue ramped up its protestations of your continued activity. Kyle, not being heartless, nor expecting you to be an automaton, suggested that maybe whatever it was that needed to be done could happen tomorrow as well as today. And so we open in your home in the morning of the following day, Wednesday. Normal sounds of the neighborhood happen around the house. Sounds of garbage collection. Your garbage didn't go out. Sounds of scraping of sidewalks, passage of cars, young preschool kids calling, yelling to each other, that sort of thing. And of course the creaking emptiness of the house itself around you.
So waking up in the morning, general morning routine, hop in the shower, not looking for the card at this point. I've kind of become comfortable with the idea that I have this tattoo. I'll call it a tattoo. Downstairs for breakfast, coffee, 2 strips of bacon, poached egg, toast. Had in the front room to kind of on the couch with the coffee table, chairs and rest of the furniture still kind of pushed into the dining room area, thinking about what I've got to do to get the house back in order. Back to the kitchen, the subtle stopping of glancing and looking at the door to the basement before I finish dishes and get everything cleaned up for the day. Changing into new clothes, nice and clean. But before getting fully dressed, one of the things I do make sure that I do is I will get bandages, because looking at my hands and knowing the state of my hands, knowing the past state of my hands, I will camouflage the fact that the burns are not visible anymore by bandaging, up to the elbow, shirt sleeves all the way down, and make sure that I'm ready to go to the office. Gathering the Gladstone bag, making sure all the files are in there. One of the notes that I know for sure I need to get addressed today is to talk with Bill about his interview with, or viewing of, the skinned man. Seeing the file and trying to get the address for the home that he was at. Remembering what I was told, that there is possibly something there, if I remember correctly. I need to find his car, which may contain evidence. So mulling over the plan in my head, being able to tell Bill that the newly revitalized harbor area docks that the Morgan Co. has basically taken over is probably going to be a dead end as far as the efforts of the Treasury agency to uncover anything to do with alcohol, firearms, illicit activity. It's a very clean area. However, being able to get to the skin man's house, via an anonymous tip would be able to allow me to refocus the efforts and resources of the Treasury agency in a new direction. Kind of still formulating this whole plan in my head as I'm locking the front door, make my way down the steps to the car. Still checking the neighborhood, glancing up and down the street. And then head into work to see Bill for the first time in a few days since seeing him at the hospital.
The office is abuzz with activity. Prince is there. Winchester's there. Bill's there. People moving back and forth from office to office, secretaries checking files, and catch sight of Prince way down the end of the hallway. As you come in, you hear Bill calling for coffee in a plaintive tone. Coffee! I need coffee! Kyle spots you as you enter and moves over and says, "Hey, I found the car."
Well, it's good to see you're a couple steps ahead of me. That was going to be some of my first questions.
Yesterday, you looked terrible.
Still feeling terrible. Might wind up looking like Bill one day.
You should be so lucky, Bill calls out. Kyle leans in and says, "But how are you really feeling? Are you just pretending now, or are you still wiped out?"
I'm not at 100%, but I'm better. I'm sure
Okay.
you can understand that there's going to be a need for a certain amount of pretenses before I look down at my hands, can take these off.
Okay. After you.
Walk in, head to the desk, setting the Gladstone down by my chair, taking the coat off, looking around. How's Bill look? Look over at him.
Tired.
Just kind of
rumpled. Ties like way down here. He has that look of someone who's been there all night.
After I got my coat over the back of the chair, I'll walk over to Bill's desk and say, I apologize, Bill, for laying down on the job. What can I do to help?
Anything that happened to you this weekend was entirely my fault.
Wouldn't know about that.
So, your protege here has brought us a body. The car, same make, model, and color as one owned by a young Mr. Rory O'Shaughnessy. No registration present in the car.
Well, I mean, if it's a car that they've used in the past to you know, get away from, evade us. I'm not surprised it's not got anything in it.
And in that neighborhood, I mean, O'Shaughnessy's smart. He'll just say, "It was stolen. You know, I
Yeah.
have so many cars, I didn't notice. I didn't report it." So we're not particularly concerned about that. But in the trunk, he opens up a file. Is this young gentleman who's been trying to get himself arrested for years now as some kind of dangerous man, but he goes by the street name of Braun.
It's not much of a street name. Do
They
we
kind
do
of
we
have a
actually have any records on him?
they kind of have a Three Musketeers thing going on.
Oh, wait a second. Ron, Rory, and
Oh no! There's no association with the
oh,
O'Shaughnessys. No. This is a gang of gunrunners.
As kids, our mothers told us that if we did what we were told, stayed out of trouble, and looked to good men and women as role models to better ourselves, we could achieve the American dream. It's hard not to wonder now as the drought eats the heart out of the country and the dust delivers black blizzards and poor men beg for food while rich men fall from the sky. Did they know they were lying? Broken families, broken dreams, broken promises, moments of charity, holding off starvation for another day so that suffering can carve deeper marks in the rag-clad children of destitute parents cowering in confusion in the shadows of well-heeled shot callers for the gangsters and politicians with the police taking money from both to keep the peace. Keep your nose clean. Keep it to the grindstone. Keep it out of others' business. The words of our mothers echo down the streets lined with ragged folk with tin cups praying for soup. Can anyone turn this free fall into flight? Is there an answer out there that brings sense to madness? Or do we keep swimming our way toward Asculum?
outside the O'Shaughnessy's business, huh? So,
Yes, allowed to survive. So people say that the sufferance of the O'Shaughnessys
who else is
doing
in
a
this?
brisk trade in firearms.
Who else is in this trio? If you saying that the Three Musketeers.
So we have Ron, we have Art, and we have Vic. Don't ask me which one is supposed to be which Musketeer. I have no idea.
Any dirt on the other two? Or they fall into the same boat? They
Yeah, they're a gang.
well, I understand that, Bill, but what I mean is you say he did a lot of trouble to go through a lot of trouble to get arrested, but
What I'm trying to say is that he was an unsuccessful, or maybe a very successful hoodlum.
can we assume that his compatriots are going to fall into that same example? Are they going to be hard to get a hold of?
I think we have street addresses on all of them. Yeah. But this gentleman is dead. And he's dead in a very interesting way.
I'll pull up one of the spare chairs, kind of sit down with Bill as I'm looking through the file. Go ahead, Bill. Keep filling me in. You're telling me things here.
Well, he has 2 knife wounds. A very, very visible, very neat, very visible one, splitting his neck from one set of veins all the way across to the other set of veins.
So an ear-to-ear smile.
However, according to the coroner, not very much bleeding.
Okay. What about the other wound?
The other wound is located between some ribs. Coroner says not the same kind of knife. Penetrates the lungs and some other important anatomy related to the heart. And so in some kind of way, died very quickly. Unable to scream.
Any other evidence found in the back of the car? We got anything stuck to the shoes, giving signs of where he may have been killed at? Definitely wasn't.
Well, he was just a couple of buildings down from his own apartment. So the car is found in a part of town that is not O'Shaughnessy territory and belongs to these musketeers. Stuffed in a trunk of what looks to be an O'Shaughnessy vehicle, namely Rory O'Shaughnessy. We have a couple of photographs of it at a couple of night spots in town with him in it, but it's like I said, we can't conclusively tie him to the vehicle. We can't conclusively tie him to the murder.
And really, and even if we could, it'd be circumstantial, just because he's stuffed into the back of his car and then the guy's found a couple blocks away from his apartment. It's not anything that's really going to stick. Did anybody go and look at Ron's apartment? Was his place tossed? Was it nice and neat? We find anything there?
So your protege, Mr. Winchester, played nicely with the local police and brought them in to do this canvassing, which is progressing. They're canvassing the area.
Canvassing isn't necessarily being in the building, though, right? I mean, has anybody actually gone into his apartment to have a look around? Do we know that for sure?
Well, it's morning, Alex.
Okay.
So now's the time to go. We found the car last night. We brought in the coroner. We did all this great overnight investigative research. We have connections. There's more pins in the map, but you want to go and check his apartment. So we can do that.
It seems like a
So
good place to
feisty.
start.
Yeah.
At least I kind of looked down at my watch. At least this early in the morning, it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Put my hand on Bill's shoulder and say, I appreciate you, Bill, for doing all this. I appreciate everybody in the office for taking care of all this. I don't want to make it sound like I need to be
Like
the
you're
center of
ungrateful.
attention. I am not ungrateful
That's
for
good.
everything that everybody in this office does.
Yeah, so I don't think you're going to find anything in his apartment. I think you're pretty much guaranteed to find he was killed on the street and stuffed into the trunk of a car. But what makes this interesting to me, see if you follow my logic. The O'Shaughnessy outfit is the biggest, toughest outfit in Boston. They own the docks. All the other gangs pay them tribute or service. Then they're rolled out of the docks. And we still don't have an accurate count about how many O'Shaughnessy men have switched sides and gone over to the Morgans.
Yeah, that'll be
But we
hard to
know
nail
that
down.
a significant portion of their police assets have.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I can believe that because it's definitely cleaning up the area. Not necessarily doing the work of the police, but definitely doing the work of somebody who's civic minded.
So then, someone we suspected of having active ties to the O'Shaughnessy mob, Dr. Edward Call, winds up being massacred with a lot of the heavy hitters for the O'Shaughnessy mob. So, by my count, we have a large number of defections to a different outfit, and those who didn't were massacred. Which makes me really wonder if the O'Shaughnessy's even exist as an outfit anymore. You follow my train of thought?
Yeah, there might be, even if they do, there's too few of them to make a difference.
Right. And now we have an ugly murder of someone who deals in the kind of flashy firearms that some angry gangster might want to use to make a point.
So you're expecting some retaliation?
Kind of the opposite.
Or you think he's going to go completely on the defense? Circle
I
the wagons.
mean, I mean that now that the O'Shaughnessy's are out of the way, the gun runners are next.
So cleaning up each vice as he goes down the list.
That's the thought that came to my mind.
That makes sense. I mean, it is one of the next largest things that's causing a lot of disruption in the city, right? Firearms. Firearms, so to speak, in the wrong hands.
Right. The desperate. And all these little gangs now might be seeing they have an opportunity to become bigger gangs.
So a little bit of a power vacuum as these guys start flooding in. You think we could see some increase in some violence
Unless
as
they sit up and take notice of this kind of quick retaliatory.
no, it makes sense. I mean, it definitely sends a message that one of the messages could be, now you guys are next on the list.
Or it could have nothing to do with any of this
Might
stuff.
not, but considering that we know that this is where we're at right now, we got anybody got plans to put a tail on Art and Vic?
Well, I thought I'd leave that up to you.
Okay.
And I got one more file for you. Because this whole knife thing got me really interested. Okay.
So
It's actually two files. It's two files.
Yep.
One is a series of unsolved murders over the last year. Slides that across the desk.
Okay.
The other is a series of unsolved murders dating back a good 10 years.
So cold cases, Bill. How do these get connected? They got the same wound pattern? I start flipping through some of the any photographs or just kind of taking a quick skim of the first one that he gives me, which are the most recent ones, correct? Looking for at the photographic evidence that he's presenting, looking for similarities in wound pattern, similarities in the operation, the way in which the wounds are delivered. Are they always from the same side of the body? Are they always from this style of execute? Not really necessarily execution, but are they always ear to ear? Is it always the same procedure?
The old ones, there are a variety of wounds. But in this collection of cases, there is a finishing. Shot, killed. Shot, killed. Shot, killed. That kind of thing. And in the new ones, knife to the chest. Knife to the chest. Knife to the chest. And Bill has put in notes showing notes from the coroner, who began to notice the accuracy of it and his suspicion that the knife was thrown, not thrust.
Just due to the angle of the wound? It's pretty good handiwork.
Other things like a lack of a bruise pattern and
But other than throat being slit, how are you making a connection between these?
don't you
Are
see
we
it?
finding
Take a look at it. The knife wound is sufficient to kill Ron.
Yeah.
No need to cut his throat.
I mean, unless this is an MO, unless this is a calling card, right?
Or
I mean, you shoot a
unless,
guy and then
unless, unless two killers.
anything about how the wound pattern and the knife, the throat slit would indicate this. I mean, I know these guys are getting pretty handy with science these days. They both the same handiness? Does it look like the knife is thrown by a guy from the right and left hand? Does the throat slitting always happen from right to left or left to right in the wound pattern? Are they all the same?
The coroner is satisfied that most of these are the same individual. And the coroner is satisfied that most of these are the same individual. What I'm saying is this is the only case where we see both.
Okay. Any pattern in the victims? Like, who are these guys? I'm start leafing through the files to look at who the victim is.
Snitches, people with sticky fingers,
Are they all
and people who don't pay.
okay? But the snitches and sticky fingers, looking at the names, do I recognize any past mob affiliation, any crime family affiliation? Do they look
That's
like
all
they're
there in the file. Yes.
okay? This looks like housekeeping, Bill. Some of these
Yeah.
guys look like housekeeping.
And warnings.
Was the O'Shaughnessy family one of the oldest families in the city? Who else we got?
Well, the O'Shaughnessy's are into booze and gambling, primarily.
Mm-hmm.
Generating the most money and the most temptation.
As he's, kind of still doing this, one of the things I'm going to go back and look for a review in these files is where these bodies are being found or where they were found. Are they always in a
In their
residence?
homes.
They're always found in their homes?
Yeah, found by family. No traces, no evidence. We have no idea who took them down except whispers.
And what are these whispers? Some inside housekeeper, a guy who does all the cleaning for them?
I'm sure you know.
I mean, I can think of one guy who may be involved in that, but we've never
One
had
guy
it.
we were talking with at the hospital.
So you're saying Jimmy. Jimmy is our guy doing these killings.
Was doing the killings.
He mentioned something about retiring.
He's very sick.
He mentioned
Was
something
doing the
about that
killings.
too.
And then, over the last year, somebody else. He's tapping the smaller file. Somebody else.
Do you think there's any way we could get Jimmy to start singing a different tune? I mean, he's on his way out. You think we could lean on Jimmy to give us some information before it's too late?
I don't know. Do you?
It's a possibility. I mean, I know that he does feel guilty enough to have a confession, right? But I don't know how likely the priest is going to be willing to say anything. I doubt he will, but he's definitely somebody we could ask to help get Jimmy to start turning a different direction, turn over a new leaf, maybe help stop some of this from happening.
As far as I can tell, Calloway hasn't killed anybody in over a year.
But that doesn't mean he didn't train.
Unless this is Calloway
You think
with his replacement.
in other words, he's training somebody up. He's training his replacement. I mean, I can see it happen. If the MOs are too close together for it to be anything other than trying to connect the dots between when the murder stopped and when they restarted, and to make it look like the
They
same
never
hand.
stopped.
Well,
They
I mean,
never stopped.
they may not have ever stopped, but there's definitely a break in these groupings that you've got, right?
There's a sudden change of method.
Shot and throat slit, right?
Among
Thrown
other
knife
things.
and throat slit.
And thrown knife.
Yeah, and thrown knife.
Until Ron, where it's both.
So this last one is the new guy on his own.
This last one, I think, is both of them. So I have to ask myself, the O'Shaughnessy's have never cared about the Musketeers. This guy has no respect. Why kill him? And why kill him twice? As far as the coroner is concerned, the slash across the throat is completely unnecessary. He was already dead.
Over exuberance. Like I said, it could be part of his MO. This is how he works. This is his calling card. This is his signature on a kill, right? Like some guy wants to leave a joker from a deck of playing cards at a crime scene because he's got some kind of sick fetish about it.
Maybe. Either way, this makes me feel like Calloway was there.
Do we got an idea about when this happened? How long ago? How long has this guy been in the trunk? About how long ago was he actually killed? I mean, at least if we have a time frame to work back from, maybe we can try and place Jimmy somewhere.
Do you think that there were two people there?
When the killing happened? I mean, it'd be, for me, I'm not a trained forensics guy. If they can tell that there's a difference in wound pattern down to this is a righty and this is a lefty, that's why I'm asking. These throat slits be the easiest one for a guy to tell, right? It's easier to see where a knife cut starts and ends, which would let us know that if he's getting his throat cut from behind, you're either going to have to do that with your right or left hand. The throwing knife, maybe.
So you don't buy it. You don't buy it.
No, I'm
but
not.
I looked at this stuff this morning, right? I see.
I'm not saying that, Bill.
I've got rumors going back years that the hitman for the O'Shaughnessy's, a big scary hitman for the O'Shaughnessy's, is Calloway. We meet Calloway. I can't get Calloway out of my mind, so I dig up all his cases, right? But we know he's sick. We saw him in the hospital. He's no threat to anyone.
No, Not necessarily.
And these unsolved cases of this type of underworld figure with affiliations to the O'Shaughnessy's, affiliations to other gangs, known gamblers, known drinkers, and purveyors of fine criminality, they keep winding up dead. Years ago, that would be Calloway. Could never prove it, but everybody knows.
Well,
then there's this new method. And
so
then now both methods together.
Okay, so if let's say we got some correlation here. Jimmy gets diagnosed. He goes under treatment. He starts letting his bosses know what's going on and that he's got to be on his way out. Here, if we can connect that together, is where we might see a slight change over between these two files, right? First and second. That might be something that's going to match. Now, when we get to this last guy, this feels more like passing the torch, right? I mean, these guys are all about their ritual. They're all about their rite of passage. So
But he's so insignificant.
We're talking about killers, Bill.
Okay.
We're talking about guys who do this for a living. Oh, God, Bill. What else? Okay, Bill, what's next? But do you see what I'm saying? This last guy, maybe there are two there. This last guy is the final passing the torch. Jimmy goes to his boss and says, look,
so
I'm
you
done.
do think they were both there?
I think it's highly possible, yeah. But we don't have any evidence, okay? I'll agree with you there, Bill. I agree. I think it's a passing of the torch. Somebody's taken over his job.
He's clearly thinking about levering himself out of his chair.
Do it. Bill, don't get up. What do I need to get you some prints?
The map. Go over to the map.
I get up, walk over there.
Okay.
It's a lot of new stuff on here, Bill. What am I looking at?
A lot of new stuff. All right. So the blue pin right there in the neighborhood where the car was found. The blue pin is where the car was found.
Okay.
See it?
Yeah, but what about the rest of this right around here in this?
Okay. Okay, so the blue pin's where the car was found. Just a couple of buildings away on that map, there's a green pin.
Okay.
That's this Ron's house, his apartment. Now you'll notice that there is a red pin in between them.
Okay.
That's where they found the Skin Man. In some photographer's studio apartment.
Now, remind me again, the skin guy. Do we have an actual name on him? Did we get an actual name on him?
No, you can't.
There's no identification.
You can't talk to him in any normal way. Like, he answers questions. Like, I would ask him a question like, do you know where you are? I asked him, do you know where you are? He was talking about the weather. And then 4 or 5 minutes later, he told me that he was in the studio.
I mean, obviously the guy's been through something.
I couldn't get a name out of him. He's got no fingerprints, and he's not lucid.
What about dental? Can they do anything with his teeth?
If he's ever seen a dentist, I would be surprised.
So, given the condition of his teeth, do you think he might have been homeless? Just a vagrant?
He doesn't speak. He's from Boston.
Well, that
He
narrows
doesn't
it down.
sound educated like you or me.
Does he sound like a Southie?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But it's a little hard to tell through all the pain.
Oh, yeah, well, and yeah. Okay. So he's still kind of unconnected to this. I mean, not directly connected to this, other than the fact that he was found between the two locations, right? We don't know where he fits in. We don't know who he is. What's the street life like in that area? We got a lot of vagrancy down there.
It's a lot of poverty, yeah.
Okay. Nobody came forward, no witnesses, nobody seen anything.
Yeah, and you'd think that Ron's wife would have reported him missing.
Hmm. I still kind of feel like I need to see this whole area down here. There's
Go.
something. Okay. Well, I'm torn. I got two things I got questions about. One, I got a lot of questions about this. I just need to see the lay of the land down there. Maybe do some poking around on my own. What's this thing about the murders that happened at the bakery? I know seems like it's going to come right out of left field, but wasn't there like a
Yeah,
woman?
that was the papers, but that's got nothing to do with us. That's not the mob.
Okay. What was the name of that bakery again? Tragosi's or
No, it's in the.
you remember?
No, I don't remember. It's in a newspaper around here
All right.
somewhere.
I'll try and find out at the desk.
Why do you want to know about it, Alex? I mean, that was pretty sick stuff.
There's been a lot of sick stuff going on. The massacre at the office, Eddie Driscoll's place, this bakery. And you telling me finding a skinned guy isn't sick as well? It's a lot of. I mean, I know times are tough, and I'm saying all this I'm kind of like getting my stuff arranged, checking my firearms, getting my coat on. There's a lot of sick stuff going on, Bill, and I can't overlook the fact that it can't just be the economy, it can't just be joblessness, it can't just be people being hungry. There's going to be a lot of worse things out there that could make somebody want to skin somebody up. I do think you're right about there being two people at Ronnie's send-off. And if it's a send-off, I think it's a passing of the torch, because I'm going to tell you, Jimmy's going to be out one way or another, whether he goes out on his feet or he goes out on his back when he's getting a transfusion or something else. I don't know. But he's a guy that seems like he's carrying some guilt. From what I've seen so far, he also seems like a guy who, and I hate to say this, has a certain twisted sense of right and wrong, but I think he's seeing more things fall into that wrong category. Is there anybody that can talk to Jim? And maybe we got anybody that we know that might be able to get him to turn. I don't know if he'll want to talk to me. It's not like our conversations that we've had just recently after I gotten out of the hospital is going to be any more friendly than the last one. He kind of makes my skin crawl.
I don't know. I didn't hire that kind of.
No, it's
Didn't
okay.
recruit that kind of agent.
I mean, if it needs to, I could probably, if he calls me, because he's got my number. I want you to know that, Bill. He's got my phone number. I mean, he goes to the same church as my family, so I'm surprised I never put two and two seeing him there together. But I don't know. I ain't been down there in quite a while. If I talk to him,
Both Catholics are lapsed, Alex.
if I talk to him again, I'll bring it up. But I'm telling you, the guy makes my skin crawl. I just don't see how a man can go around doing stuff like that as a job.
Yeah, well, there's this other question that goes with it, because according to the report, the skin was recovered.
I'm looking at the door. I'm looking at the door jam.
Right here.
I'm looking at the door jam. I'm looking at Bill and I go, did you have to bury the lead on that one so much, Bill? I put the Gladstone bag down by the door frame and I walk over to his desk and opening up the file. Any chances the skin was found somewhere close to the body? I'll walk over to the pin wall.
It's found in the same room with the body. And if you look carefully at those photographs, you're not going to find any seam. So somebody skinned him without breaking the skin.
When I'm looking at the photos, listening to what Bill's saying, noticing that there's no seam. I'm looking for the condition of his hair. Is it long? Is it short? Is it
a normal haircut?
Just a normal haircut. But does it look like someone who took care of themselves? Like their hair was maintained. They always had, like they got a haircut on a regular basis, or were they letting themselves go at this point? Long.
The skin is deflated. You can't even really identify who it is.
Well, it's not so much the face.
So, like the
scalp
hair is not giving the head any shape. It's just all flat. So it's just.
Bill, who did the coroner's report on this?
Lewis. I like him. I like Lewis. He's thorough.
Is he an amicable guy? Is he easy to talk to?
Well, he's easy for me to talk to, but I've got the weight of being a war veteran and a family man and incredible dignity in my face. Young punk like you who went to Harvard. I don't know.
Holding the file up. You mind if I take this with me, Bill?
Yep.
All right.
That doesn't leave the office.
put it on his desk.
You want to talk? You want to go down to the coroner's office and talk to Lewis? I'll write you a note.
Thank you, doctor. I would love to have a note so I could talk to the coroner.
Give you a hall pass too.
Okay. Yeah, because I may get stopped in the hallway if I need to go to the bathroom, trying to get out of here. What's Prince doing?
I'm going to send him over to take statements from. Digs through the files from the reporter, the antique dealer, and someone else who were the ones who initially reported the massacre.
Reporter and an antique dealer. Okay.
Smalls and McSweeney.
Just kind of nod my head as I'm picking up the bag. I'll be interested to hear how that goes. Thanks for
By
the
the
note,
way,
Bill.
McSweeney's been calling, trying to find out where you are. So I'm worried he got wind that you were put away.
And this is the reporter.
Yeah. For the Post.
Keep it under wraps, Bill, if you would. Okay.
Of course. I don't want anybody knowing that my squad has spent any time at Danvers.
Looking at Bill, knowing his history, I say, Bill, it's okay sometimes when a guy breaks down. It doesn't mean that he's bad. Doesn't mean he can't do his job. Doesn't mean he can't bounce back from it. I think what's more important is what I do now that I'm out, not what necessarily got me there. Keep
I do
tabs
have
on
one
enough.
question for you. I got one
Oh,
question.
God, Bill.
I wasn't going to ask. I wasn't going to pry. Closes the door, which doesn't help. It's still, people are still going to be able to.
It's a wall. I kind of laugh. Yeah, the fuck newspapers on the wall, Bill. Come on, they're gonna hear it anyway. What do you got? I'll lean in.
You were just there for 3 days. Just 3.
Yeah.
I felt like you needed to sleep anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it bothered me to send you there. It really did. But why did you escape?
Escape, Bill?
Yeah. As a favor to me, they're keeping it, and a favor to themselves, of course, for their security. But they reported that you escaped on Sunday night.
Standing up and leaning against the door jamb.
Really, early Sunday morning. Sunday night. Now, when I came to you in the hospital, I thought you'd been released. I wasn't going to say anything.
kind of still just staring at the door jamb. You know, Bill, I don't really remember that part.
What does that mean, Alex?
I mean, I don't remember.
You don't remember going to Danvers?
Oh, I remember going to Danvers. I don't remember the escaping part.
I'm not sure what I can do with that information, Alex.
Putting the Gladstone bag down again for the umpteenth time that I've been back in the office, trying to get out of here. I reach in to my back pocket, pull out my wallet, and I pull out the business card for my former dean of psychology. I put it down on the table and I say, if you have any worries, Bill, I'm more than happy to talk to someone who is a very good friend, who knows me very well, who has a very good insight into why these things happen to people. If you'd like to be privy to such a conversation, I'd be more than happy to set up an appointment with this gentleman. Mr. Spinnaker is someone I can trust as a professional. But I'm going to tell you, and I look him straight in the face, I don't remember an escape.
You realize that's not the same thing as telling me I didn't escape.
How can I tell you I didn't escape if I don't remember that that's what actually happened? There've been a lot of success with hypnosis, Bill, and I go back over and I go, I'm going to bend down now, Bill, and I'm going to pick up my bag. Do you
I don't
have
think you
anything
should go
else you
by
want?
yourself.
That means I'm taking Kyle, since you got Prince off on questions.
All right. Check in every hour.
I'll try to make it to a phone every hour as best I can for you, Bill. Okay? Before
I gotta
I
be firm on that one, Alex. Check in every hour.
my hand on the door handle, either I go out and I do the job, Bill, or you're going to tell me to go home and rest some more if there's other things that I got to take care of before I can go back out on the street. Do you trust me, Bill, to go back out on the street?
Sure. I can also trust you to call me every hour. There's two reasons. One, you might disappear. Two, it shows excellent management and due diligence on my part.
I wouldn't want to do anything to this to tarnish your reputation, Bill. I understand. I'll do everything I can to report on the hour.
Good man. Take Winchester with you. I'll talk to you in an hour.
I head out the door.
Unless I die first.
I'm moving down the hallway whether Winchester is behind me or not. And if he's not behind me, he's going to have to catch up to me. Because now I'm really concerned.
Okay.
More so than before.
So Winchester was kind of leaning casually in the doorway to the secretarial pool, and he has a smile on his face, and he's chatting in a friendly way. He sees you, and he stands up, swirls his coat around him. Where are we off to?
First question I have for you is, when did you find out about my so-called escape? And when did this come from? Who did it come from?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. So Bill hasn't talked to you at all either, huh? All right. So here's what we got going on today. We're going to be going down to this area where that skinned body was found. We're also going to be
Cool.
going down to that area where the apartment and the car was found. We need
That's
to
the same
canvass
area.
around. Yeah. Well, it's very convenient, isn't it? It's all going to be within the same spot. We need to find out if anybody saw anything. And by that, I mean we need to talk to the kids. Just like with Steve, my friend, I think it's going to be easier to talk to the kids in the neighborhood than it is any adults.
Well, I think the cops are taking care of that, but I understand you might not trust them to get the job done properly.
A little
I
bit.
guess.
There's some cops I'll trust, but it is what it is. With the whole Boston mob life being in turmoil and things changing hands left and right every day, it's hard to tell who's in whose pocket and not. The other thing we need to do is we need to stop off at the coroner's office. We need to talk to the coroner who did the autopsy on the skinned body. In particular, we need to find out.
Autopsy on the skinned body. The guy's still alive.
Well, I mean, we're talking the skin now, looking at what's going on with that. He may be alive, but from the way it sounds, he's either so traumatized by his experience that he's just not making any sense. He knows where he is. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what the weather's like, being incoherent. But there are probably details that we can get from the coroner about what kind of life this guy led. Was he a guy that took care of himself? What is his hair like? These things that we don't necessarily need to have any verbal verification on. Is he a vagrant? Bill said the guy's teeth look like, hell on a hand stick, but is that a condition of what happened to him? Or, is that due to his lifestyle? He said he sounded like a little bit like a Southie. Can't be sure, but he definitely doesn't sound like somebody from Harvard.
There's only one man from Harvard, Alex.
And only one guy from Miskatonic, right?
I would hope
Any
so.
more of you bedfellows up here?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so as we're getting into the car and getting ready to head down there, I tell him, Bill was told that I escaped. This is a problem.
Yeah. Right.
Which means I got two problems I need to be able to take care of now.
What's the other one?
Body.
Oh, you mean your basement?
Buried in the basement, Kyle. Come on. You tell me, if you were a detective trying to pin the murder of some child on some guy, doesn't that sound like an easy way to make a connection? Just happens to be conveniently buried in the basement of a guy who just escaped from Danvers, huh?
Well, that's definitely something to worry about. I'm not sure that digging it up and trying to move it somewhere is the wisest course of action.
I'm not exactly sure if keeping it there is going to be the wisest course to action.
Well, unless it's blackmail. I mean, hear me out. If it's there, they want it to stay there so that they can always use it.
Yeah. Which means that if we do move it, if it gets moved, we can't use any of his people. We can't use, well, I mean, aside from you and me, unless you know somebody.
Not even from not even from here, Alex. I certainly don't know anybody I can ask to help me move a body.
I can think of a group of people who might owe me a favor. Can you get a hold
Quite a
of your
favor.
can you get a hold of your old professor and his new associates, Mr. Armitage,
Professor Armitage? Dr. Armitage?
Dr. Armitage, Professor, Doctor?
Why would they want to do that, Alex?
If they are going to want to know anything else about this book, this Xavier, I mean, they seemed pretty interested in what was going on. They seemed pretty interested in a lot of the stuff that I had talked to them about. You were there. It didn't seem like Armitage had not been through the easiest of times, or maybe hadn't had a similar experience. But right now, between him, his associates, they're the only outside group that knows some of what's going on, who may be able to lend a hand and have resources in case this thing goes entirely south. And right now, as an escapee, I kind of let my head roll over and look at Kyle. It's not exactly like I want more evidence piling up against me. Now, the escape thing, as I'm turning the corner, making our way to the neighborhood, is not exactly something that works in my favor, nor did I know about it. To the best of my knowledge, I was supposed to have been released. Now I'm being told by my boss that I'm an escapee and that this information is being kept between him and Danvers. And on top of that, there's some reporter now asking a lot of questions. Just now, and again, I'm kind of shaking my head as I look at him, just now asking questions. And apparently this guy also has some connection with that massacre that happened at Driscoll's place, who now has become another suspect since he's out. Oh, and by the way, Agnes, one of the ladies we talked to at that tent show the other day, just happens to be his secretary. So there's too many things all starting to come together in one place around one central story, around Xavier, his taking over the O'Shaughnessy's territory, his cleaning it up. And now, guess who else drops into my lab? Some assumed mob killer. As I'm turning the corner, getting ready to stop at the stop sign, just happens to fall into my lap, wants to do good, who makes all the introductions. Now, don't get me wrong, Jimmy's a killer. I think you know that, and I'm pretty sure there's not going to be any discussion around that problem. But there's too many pieces that are coming together too quickly. Not enough stuff to support everything that we're seeing. Who's this guy? The skin job. Where'd he come from? Who was he before he got skinned? What kind of connection does he have with Ron and these three musketeers? Is Xavier's next box to check off on the checklist of cleaning up the city of Boston for people and future? I kind of wave my head as I'm saying that. Is that going to be the gun runners next?
What? Watch the milk truck. Watch the milk truck.
I'm keeping. I'm keeping my eyes on the road. I'm just a little agitated.
A lot agitated, I think. We can pull over. We could get some, well, maybe not some coffee.
Nah, I know coffee already. I had 2 cups already this morning. It's more than enough. I need fewer questions, Kyle, and I need more answers. The coroner, the body, Ron, the car, these are just more questions. Something here has to break. Now, maybe the reporter, maybe this antiquarian, when Prince goes and talks to them, maybe that man have something else to say. Maybe they saw more than just reporting in. Who knows? But I could almost guarantee you I got the feeling that somehow Driscoll is all connected with this. Because there's no way it happens in his building while his secretary is part of People in Future.
It's curious.
I don't get a chance to say it often. Maybe I say it, but maybe I forget as we're kind of pulling up, getting into the neighborhood, that I can't thank you enough for being here, Kyle.
Don't worry about it. Okay. Pull over there.
Pull up, spot to spot where I can get the car parked and just quickly glance around the neighborhood, take it in the scene from where we're parking.
So take in the wonders of this street, would you? All very low rent. Pretty much everything on that side of the street is falling down. Over here, we have some tenements. No or very little heat, right? All sorts of, I mean, I wouldn't live there. Okay. Now, around behind that building, around the block over there behind that building is where the car was found. So you can just see it from here where it was.
Okay. And then the apartment is back that way?
No. That second big building, just a couple of low buildings in between. Second big building is where Ron lives. He lives on the third floor. Okay. Now, in this closer building, this closer tenement, top floor, there's this big studio apartment. That's where your skinned man was found. Now, that studio apartment belongs to a photographer. You probably know him. Crime photographer. All those, true crime magazines. Goes by the name of Callum McGinnis.
Okay. Other than that, knowing that he's doing true crime, do we know anything else about Callum?
We know that in the wreckage of that massacre site, in Eddie Driscoll's office, not in Dr. Call's part of the building, but in Eddie Driscoll's part of the building, Callum McGinnis's photographic equipment, his camera case and spare film and flashes was found. Cataloged by the police. It's all part of that documentation that you had shipped over, all covered in bodily fluids. Prince has been going through it file by file.
Kind of looking up at that part of the building, I'm nodding my head and I'm saying, I say, you see what I mean about how too many of these things are starting to all come together. It's just convenient that the photographer's equipment is in Eddie's office.
So there is a note with the photographic equipment file saying that that lieutenant that you introduced me to had sent the film off to be developed, but there was no report in the file about what the pictures were.
How long ago was that?
What do you mean?
When the request to have the film was developed. How
So
long
I'm saying
ago?
they delivered those files to you that same day.
Yeah. But then there was probably a couple of days before we come across these files, the camera gear and all that.
Right, so nothing's
would
been
have
updated since.
Really?
It's a lot of files.
Yeah, but you would think that if we got any results back from some film to be being developed, something would have been added in, right?
Yeah, I'm sure the police got results, but we're not the police, Alex.
Okay. Really wish there was a lot more open communication. We know we're both looking at the same thing. What do you think first? Yadis Loft? Ron's place?
I'm not sure there's anything in the studio. So let's see why Ron's wife didn't report him missing.
Sounds like a good one for me. Lock the car up, taking the Gladstone with me, and head to Ron's apartment.
A stream of kids who should all be in school
Wow, a Willis Knight?
come running up to look at the car.
How fast is it?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, lifting the bag up, lifting my hands up. I let him look at the car, waiting for Kyle to kind of come around, to my side.
They're touching it, jumping up on the running board.
Who wants to take a little bit of time to babysit my car for me?
All the hands go up. For a fee.
Well, you're going to get half now. And I kind of look around at all the kids, and you're going to have to share it.
He's not going to do anything. Yes, I am. They break into bickering. One very serious, studious kid is just paying attention to the car. Most of them are dividing their attention between each other and the potential of earning money from you.
Okay. So I'll walk over to the kid who seems to be paying the most attention and say, "You mind being in charge?" Okay. I introduce myself, say, "My name is Alex. Officer Alex Thornton. And you are?"
Don't give them your name. Don't tell him, Tim.
Tim. And then he gets a solid whack. Like, really hard. Whack. Don't give your names to the cops. Kyle has to turn around to hide his face as he's biting his cheeks. These little 8-year-old gangsters in training. You know.
Still having my hands up. I say, okay, listen up, everybody. Tim, I kind of look at him. Now he's going to be in charge. I'm sure you know what that means, right?
Tim's in
Good.
charge? Tim?
He seems to be the only one that is really taking it seriously.
He's interested in cars. I'm interested in money.
Well, young man, there's going to be a time in your life when you're going to be interested in both, because the cars and the money is what's going to get you the dames, okay?
Dames? Dames?
I turn my attention back to Tim. No, I'm sure you might be able to tell me what kind of car this is. You look savvy enough. You know how to take care of a car. You ever taken care of a car?
If I get a good car, do I have to spend time with dames?
You don't have to, but there's going to be, and I letting my hands down, I kind of bump him a little bit on the upper thigh with my bag, and I give him a wink and say, one day, you're probably going to want to.
That's what Mom says.
So here's the deal, Tim. You're going to be in charge. Now nobody goes in the car, okay? But if you guys don't mind watching it, being here when I get back, and I make sure to say it out loud, because nobody who leaves and isn't here when I get back doesn't get a fair share, right, Tim?
That's fair. Because, you know, you guys are probably here because of Ron, right?
And this is why I picked you, Tim.
I'd be pretty upset if somebody stuffed somebody in my dad's trunk.
In your dad's trunk? What do you mean?
I don't have a car. I'm 8.
But your dad? Oh. How many? I look around and
That
count.
car is a piece of rust.
I look around and I count the number of kids.
6 kids are paying attention. There's a small satellite of kids who are too shy to come close.
All right. So Tim's in charge. Pull up my wallet. And I give Tim 6 $1 bills. Now, Tim is going to hold on to the money. And when I get back, you get the other half. Everybody knows what number 6 is half of, right?
One joker yells out, 20!
I kind of look at Tim and say, there's a kid that's not getting into Harvard.
As soon as you leave, they're going to beat me up and take it.
Well, then here's how we can fix that, right? I unlock the car. You ever been in a car like this, Tim? Just take care of it, okay? You feel okay doing this? You look nervous, Tim. I'm going to lock the car, okay? So after I close the door and lock the door, for the car. I turn around and say, Tim's going to keep the money safe in the car. I know. Best laid plans, but now if the 6 of you or the 5 of you aren't here when I get back, Tim gets all the money. Do you understand where this is going? You all got to be here when I come back. And I turn and pick up the bag and start walking with Winchester to Ron's apartment.
The snarky kid. The $20 kid. He's taking a couple of steps, same direction as you, and then stops, looking back at everybody else, and they're like, don't say anything, don't say anything. How much to know who put Ron in the trunk?
Why don't you walk down here with us?
And then he goes with you.
We put in between Kyle and myself as we're walking down to Ron's apartment. How much do you think? How much do you think information like that's worth?
More than 12.
Less than 20?
20 would be great.
That's an awful lot of money.
Well, my mom doesn't have a job. And I can't make much selling papers.
And how can I believe that this is going to be reliable? You understand my skepticism, right?
Your what?
You understand how hard it's going to be for me to believe that you're going to tell me the truth.
You calling me a liar?
Look down at him and say, not yet, kid.
I shouldn't say anything, but the only people who are going to care aren't here.
And who are those people that are supposed to be caring?
You know, Ron and Art and Vic. But I think they'd want somebody to stand up for them. And the guys that did it, I've never seen them before. Down here. I don't think we'll ever see them again. And you're not going to tell that a kid told them.
I look back at his group of friends. What are they going to say? I mean, you kind of opened your mouth about it. How old does this kid look?
9, maybe.
When we're just about to the door of the apartment, or the building that the apartment's in, it's okay. If you're really interested in talking, then you'll be here when I come back down. And if you really want to earn a couple of months' wages in one little conversation, then you'll be here when I come back down. And then I'll kind of kneel down like I did with the kids in front of Steve's place and say, you'd said you'd never seen them down here before. Does that mean that you had seen these guys that came down here somewhere else?
Yeah.
I look up at Kyle. Then it's probably worth $20.
Oh, wait. Then he's like, but don't you jerk me around. You play me straight.
I flash my badge at him. My name is right here. My job is to play straight, kid. And when you're talking about Art and Vic, they're the kind of guys I'd like to have a conversation with eventually, too.
That deal's off the table. But I'll finger the guys who took Ron down.
Kind of, but flipping my wallet shut, I kind of tap Kyle on the chest with, and I say, "We got a real songbird here, Kyle." As I try not to smile and make my way inside the building.
He calls out after you, I'm no snitch.
Make our way up to Ron's apartment.
I'm no stoolie. This apartment building has seen better days. This is number 5 at the end of the hall. This Kyle.
Just listening for the noises, walking down to his doorway, trying to get an idea for what facing of the building we're on. Looking to see if there's a window at the end of the hallway before, his doorway or after his doorway.
Across the hall from him, apartment 4, is where this Art is supposed to live. And then back there at apartment 2 is where Vic is supposed to live. The Three Musketeers.
All right, in one convenient spot. You think it'd be too dangerous to get the whole family together? Let's start with Ron. So I'll knock on apartment 5. Nothing rough, nothing abrupt, just a double tap.
From the other side of the door comes a, who is it?
My name is Alex Thornton. I wanted to stop by and ask you a few questions about the discovery of your husband's body.
I already talked to the police.
I'm not the police.
I don't want to talk to reporters.
I'm not a reporter.
I don't want to play 20 questions.
Neither do I. Nor would I rather not have this conversation through a door, given the neighborhood we're in. Might even be something worthwhile, and I kind of look down the hallway about having your neighbors over to be involved in the conversation.
The door is ripped open. There's a woman, she's got a baby on one hip. She's got a toddler dragging on one leg. Her hair's up in curlers. She's in bathrobe. I haven't seen those deadbeats in days. She storms back off into the apartment, leaving the door open.
Look at Kyle. Bodies floating by the docks. And I kind of walk in, looking around her apartment. So my understanding
It doesn't
is
really fit the view of the gangster lifestyle.
like really, if he was a gangster, he's very small time, very low profit. Again, I hate to interrupt your day. I can see that you're awfully busy, but as I said, my name is Alex Thornton. I'm with the Treasury Department.
There's nothing here.
I didn't come
I
by
don't
to
know the details of his business.
didn't come by to ask about the details of his business. I didn't come by to see if there was anything in your house. What I did come by to ask you about was, when was the last time that your husband, I kind of raised my eyebrows, was seen dealing with anyone other than his other associates, Art and Vic? When was the
He was
last
out
time?
in the street before he got killed, screaming about how he took Rory O'Shaughnessy's car.
I kind of shake my head, just knowing the kind of person that Rory is.
Says he walked right up to him, told him had to give tribute for being in his neighborhood, and that Rory took off running down the street. And so
Really?
he took the car as his prize. Up and down the street, yelling his fool head off for anybody to hear. Really. And then he never came home.
Before that day, you happen to have not noticed anything. Yeah, I kind of I have to give a little bit of a chuckle. Unusual, other than your husband's potential business dealings. I'm sure you're aware that just a few days ago that there was a body found.
Yeah, that's news all up and down the street too. I heard they skinned him alive.
You don't know if there was any unusual activity in your neighborhood leading up to that event, do you? No.
Nothing more unusual than finding a skinned man.
And you say you haven't had any word from your neighbors. That doesn't sound like that's not unusual, right? How often did they hang out?
They were inseparable since birth. But you don't go mouthing off about the O'Shaughnessys without expecting some kind of slap.
That I understand. Well, to be honest, you've already given me some information that I didn't even really hope to find out, where these guys are, or where they were living. But the fact that you haven't seen them in a while is definitely interesting. There's a young man downstairs waiting to talk to me, and some kids watching my car. What do you think about the kids in this neighborhood?
They all want to grow up to be their fathers.
You don't happen to have any keys to the apartments across the hallway from you, do you? Were they that kind of friends?
She goes over to a wooden key hook, unevenly nailed to the wall. And It's got many little hooks all down the length of it. Art. Vic.
Well, thank you. Looking at Kyle, looking at her, say, I know this isn't normal procedure, and I don't want to get you in any trouble. If anybody asks, we came and asked a few questions, and then we left. Does that sound amicable for you?
Whatever.
I asked Kyle to, go out in the hallway and just kind of take a look around and see if there's anybody out and up on the floor. After he kind of goes out to the hallway, I'll turn back to her, bag to the floor, hand out for the keys, right hand go into the wallet again. I understand that it's very tough. I don't have any kids of my own, but I want you to understand that this isn't a handout, that this is a hand up. And I give her $20. There's a lot of tough times going on around here. You may hear about other parts of the city getting cleaned up, and I don't mean by us. If you ever, and I give her my card too, happen to be approached by anyone who comes to you saying that they belong to an organization called People and Future, I want you to call me. And when I say those words, I look at my watch. Do you happen to have a phone?
Yeah, well,
Does it work?
I can make a call.
No,
But I'm going to take this money because I think I earned it. But don't you expect anything else? I'll make this call if these people come looking because you were polite, but don't you come around here drunk and lonely and expecting anything.
I straighten up. This isn't a conversation like that, nor would I ever propose to a woman any such activity. Do I have your permission to use your phone?
Oh, I don't have a phone, but I can call you if I need to.
Is there one in the common house, in the common room downstairs?
You need to make a call, do you, mister?
My
Thornton?
boss has me on a short leash, yeah. It's getting close, so I figured I might as well call ahead of time.
Vic has a phone.
I'll bring back the keys when we're done.
I'm not going to need them.
So then you don't mind if I take them?
I don't mind if you throw them in the street. I don't mind if you throw them in the drink.
All right. Pick up the bag and go out into the hallway and go to Vic's since he's the one that's got the phone.
She closes the door and you hear the locks.
Look at Kyle as I'm walking up to Vic's door and say, let's start checking some boxes off.
I had no idea you were such a ladies' man.
I shrug my shoulders. Anybody from Harvard who's still single in this day and age, especially at my age.
That's right. And as you age, you only get better, of course.
Yeah. Open the door to Vic's apartment.
Vic's in the apartment. Suspended. By his neck.
Kyle, I drop the bag and pull the 44, 45 out from behind my back. Come on in, Kyle. Let's take a look. Be careful. Stay away from the body. Check the back room, anything. And I hate to say it, but I got to make a call.
The smell you have unleashed is a strange combination of bitterness and sweetness. It has an instant physical reaction, right, that both you and Kyle experience, that sudden urge to gag, which must be contended with first.
How's Kyle do? Oh, I keep it cool. After seeing the massacre, I'm good.
Kyle's swallowing it back down. And then surreptitiously taking his hanky, making sure his face is okay. He's like, his eyes are watering. He's going over to the window, raising the window. And there's this steady buzzing of flies, right? Because it's really warm on this side of the apartment building.
Okay. Trying to find the phone.
Phone has its own stand very close to the door.
Still connected. Pick up the receiver.
Operator.
Treasury office, please.
Is this an emergency?
Yes. My name is Officer Alex Thornton. Need to contact my superior. Give him a direct desk number.
Familiar woman's voice answers on the other end. Treasury Department, Prohibition Bureau.
Agent Alex Thornton, calling to report in as requested by my superior Bill, but with additional news.
I'll connect you. Alex, thanks for calling.
Oh, don't thank me yet, Bill. I'm going to say that I got one additional body for everybody to have a little look at, and chances are there's going to be a second one. You could probably wrap up the mystery of the Three Musketeers, because right now I'm in Vic's apartment and he is hanging from the ceiling. So I guess it's a good thing somebody came down here and did some poking around.
Fresh?
If there was no ice in the meat locker, about that fresh. We're on the side of a building where the sun's been beaten down for a while. The window's closed. Kind of stinks to high hell in here, Bill. So I'm going to need to make this call quick because I'm going to need to get out of this room.
All right. Close it up. Don't touch anything.
Yeah.
I'll send the PD. What about the other one?
His next door neighbor, this is the first building we went in. This is the first room we went into. Because this is the one that had the phone up here on this floor.
Send your crony. Check the other apartment.
Call for Kyle, give him the key, tell him to, hey, just go ahead and open the door next door.
It's clear, just nothing. I can still smell it in here.
So I let Bill know it's nobody there. So the only one we got left of the Three Musketeers is going to be Odd.
And then you hear Kyle's voice saying, "Holy crap."
That may not be the case, Bill. Waiting for an update here. What's going on? Don't yell. Just come back over here and report in what you
You
found.
hear, you hear the door lock. Comes back with his handkerchief over his face, and it's got a green stain on it, like men's cologne or something like that, which he's holding up over his face. He says, I'm sure Art won't mind. Their stash. They got a wall of Tommies.
Said Bill. I said, I think we found out where they've been warehousing their goods.
Good job, Alex.
Well, it's only a matter of time before all this shoe leather pays off, Bill.
Good job.
But we still need to find Art.
Yeah. And did Vic hang himself? Or
Looking
did he have
around.
help?
Do I see a chair or anything on the floor?
His chair on his back underneath him, yeah.
It's possible, Bill. But I mean, I don't want to get too close to take that good of a look. But from where I'm seeing, I give it a 50-50 split. Maybe 60-40 that he had some help. With Odd on the lam, I don't know. Although I will say from what Kyle has said that if we try and find this guy, Odd, and we get him pinned down, we should be ready for some machine gun fire. Because we're not talking pistols in the next room.
Well, be careful.
Well, hold up here. Just make sure whoever you talk to and send down here is going to be on our team. As best you can. Hang up the phone. Look at Kyle and say, so, no body over there, no Art, huh?
Really different apartment, too. And this one looks like somebody lives here. Messy, but looks like somebody lives here. That one, it's like like you see in a magazine in the dentist's office.
What do you mean, high class? Is he ritzy over there?
Well, ritzier than this. Got plants and cologne.
What are we talking gun-wise?
Looks like he set up his main room, his front room, to be his kitchen, his office, and his bedroom. The 2 bedrooms are all storage. Gun after gun after gun, all down the walls. All the walls. And cases of ammunition.
You know anything about the precinct down here? Are these some cops we can trust?
This is Boston, isn't it?
As far as the eye can see, yeah.
Then I don't imagine that many of the cops are those we can trust. But what are we going to do?
What do you think about being the only 2 guys here when these guys show up? Look, all I'm saying is let's just make sure Audie's door is unlocked. Vic's door is the one that's locked. And I know I'm going to sound paranoid, but I'd rather wait in the armory than I would in the hallway.
Good idea.
Hang out until the police arrive.
Okay. Heavy footsteps come down the hall eventually. And around the corner, just kind of peeking his head in almost a playful fashion, is Officer John Malone.
Malone, you get around for a big guy.
Well, you know.
Actually, it's kind of convenient that you happen to be the one that comes down here. Are you the only one that's down here? Or did you get down here? Did you get down here?
I'm here to make sure that all of this goes with you.
We're not the police. We're Treasury. I mean, if this is coming back to the office, that's fine. But
all these illegal firearms have to have something to do with you.
They probably have more to do with the guy hanging in the room next door.
You don't want these on the street.
No, we don't. So are you the only one? Who else is here?
Every flatfoot for 100 miles is here.
Well, then they should be happy to make sure that it all comes back to the Treasury with us, right?
You know, Alex, I didn't like you when I met you. I like you less now. Take care of it yourself. He turns on his heel and he walks off.
Malone.
Yes?
Please. I would appreciate the help.
He turns with a beaming smile. It would be my pleasure. Close the curtain on tonight's session. As all of this ordnance is packed up in trucks to be shipped off to the Treasury.
It's hard to get a read on Malone.
Malone.
And here's the weird thing that Alex is probably starting to get the feeling that whenever the tiff is hitting the shan, that one of three people will be showing up.
Ooh.
Malone, he's now apparently at the top of the list. Bud or Lou. Because they seem to be too in on the flow of information for me to be comfortable with.
You have to call Bud and Lou. If you want them, they'll come.
Okay. Oh, Malone. Well, that does at least I mean, it was additional information that got checked off. So at least from this, Vic is dead. Art is on the lam or soon to be found dead, potentially. But the reporter, the private investigator, there's the photographer. There's just too much now to not have to ask more questions directly to them. But
yes, with the combination of what you found and the time it takes to catalog it, load it, drive it, do all the paperwork on it, that pretty much burns through all of Wednesday and Wednesday evening.
oh, I'm sure, yeah,
In
yeah.
red tape. Yeah.
I don't know if there's going to be any repairing of the relationship with Malone, though. Or how I could turn that relationship around. It would seem like, I mean, it would seem like if the killing of Vic would have anything to do with Ron, that it would have been done in the same fashion. So this does seem a little bit more like a suicide because it's just not the same calling card. Callum McGinnis, just right down the street.
Yep. In the heart of gangland.
So my question is going to be, will I go to the artist, the photographer first, or do I need to go ahead and just confront this reporter who's asking a lot of questions?
Yep. It's something to ask.
So just to wrap up some info then.
Yep.
Dealing with the kids. The kid who said that he had seen people with the body. Is that something we can just wrap up now, or do you want to leave that for next time? Is that extraneous information, or is his behavior going to completely change when all the flat feet show up?
He's gone. All the kids are gone when the cops
Even Timmy?
raid the territory.
Even Tim in the car?
Tim's in the car.
Okay. Well, then Tim's the only one that's going to get paid.
Okay.
Is there any other information that I can get out of Tim?
Not so much, no.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Okay. I am still not checking off enough boxes. I feel like I'm not checking off enough boxes. I mean, I know in investigation, there's always a lot of information. Although I will say that, there's a lot of stuff that is now kind of together. So if I can check off a box, a lot of stuff would get checked off at one time.
Yeah. But I think the issue that you're running into is that you're an agent of the Prohibition. And things like today were really more about police work.
Yeah, they are.
And, your immediate superior and your partner were like, yeah, but this is not us. There's nothing we can or should do about this.
Yeah.
Which, to be clear, is coming from the NPCs. It's not coming from me saying don't investigate this.
Oh, no, yeah.
You've got
Totally understand the separation of that, which as a concern, in character, it's a viable concern, right? I've tried to, hopefully I kind of am making that come through as part of what Alex is thinking about is, if I'm going to keep trying to use the Treasury resources, I need to have a reason, right? Now, not necessarily being, the discovery of a weapons cache is definitely something that, while is a high, is great for a criminal investigation, how much, I'm going to be able to pull that discovery in for the Treasury Department and its relevance. I mean, I know Bill was the one who was interviewing the skinned man, right? Well, the connection is there, even though it may feel, at least to me, feels a bit tenuous. But after this point, right, hopping to talking to the photographer, hopping to try and find the private investigator, talking to the reporter, those all do not feel like follow-ups for a Treasury investigation necessarily.
Right.
Even though it's very convenient that McGinnis is down here in the same place where the body was found. But this still doesn't bring us any closer to who the body is. Or who
Bill's
the
assumption, the Bill's reaction was that based on where the body was found and et cetera, he just assumed he must be some kind of gangland figure. That's why he went to try and get involved in the identification. But
yeah. I mean, as a wild left field guess, given the state of things, who knows if it's art or not? Right? He's the missing character, NPC here. I think that would be a bit of a stretch because just of how they don't seem like they're involved in the nefarious goings on of like the library, the books, the mythos things that have happened. They don't seem to be involved in that part of it. Although the skinned man thing is definitely feels mythos influenced.
yeah.
But I would be surprised if it would wind up being art. It feels like it would be somebody else. But I mean, yeah, for me, it feels like the next group of people to start talking to are the private investigator, at least as far as the mythos part of the investigation goes, trying to find out what's going on with the book and all that stuff. I've got to talk to, find out what happened about this psychotic massacre at the bakery. That sounds more like a similar event to what happened at Eddie's office. So it's the only lead that sounds theoretically connected to what's going on down there. When Bill mentions that there was an antiquarian and antiques dealer involved in this, knowing that everybody's looking for this book, that's another tenuous kind of connection to make, to ask questions about. And Eddie Driscoll, who is both connected to the massacre event and his secretary happening to be involved with Future and People. So I would think that some of the next things to try and investigate are going to be trying to track down Eddie and find out what he knows about, or if he is calm enough to talk about what happened. But how I can connect that to the Prohibition Department, the Treasury agency and all that, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that.
That's your homework.
Yeah. Along with trying to straighten up 11 sessions worth of notes. Because now that a lot of stuff is actually starting to kind of come together, at this point, names are starting to be connected directly to each other. Locations are being connected to each other. It's definitely time for me to try and straighten some of these out and go back and do a harder review of the sessions of ours that are posted.
Yeah, to watch them. Yeah.
All right. Are you scheduled to try and get a game in this week with Simulg?
Yes. And with Ivan, Brian, and Scott.
Holy. So was this session, was this the kickoff for the rest of the week? Really? Nice. Oh, it's great to be at the leading edge of the pack when it comes to something like that.
All right. So some of the things that happened today are a result of things that happened last Thursday in your own session, but also in other people's
Oh yeah.
session.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. The interconnectedness is getting harder and harder to avoid at this point. the
Right.
the coming together of all the cards. The one piece that I've still yet to puzzle out from the conversation with Xavier, I mean, I've kind of been trying to think about it a little bit, is him explaining that the reason why Malone is different is because he kept his promise.
Yep.
So I know what Alex is trying to puzzle out is, I know when he was speaking with Xavier, that he was going to try and get the book. Now, whether or not that's seen as a promise, because I don't know, Xavier never went into any kind of detail about what Malone's promise was. Because that's still something that's a little bit, that kind of agitates Alex's relationship with Xavier, is when he, where he drew the line is still, it's apparent, right? He had a cutoff from when he was going to do something or say something, and he did no more or said no more. But it still doesn't feel very clear about what Alex can do to secure the weapons of knighthood, so to speak, I guess, if you could put it that way.
This whole investigation with Ron, do you remember where that came from?
Well, yeah, it was with the conversation with Xavier when I had asked, letting him know that in my professional capacity, for me to be able to continue on this path, I've got to be able to connect some dots and make an advancement in the investigation, and that I would need something to be able to keep my time available, to keep my ability to continue the investigation open. And
Right.
if
You
I
needed to
remember
be
correctly,
able to
rationalize why I was
arrest
going.
some gangsters.
Well, yeah, at least show some success in progress in the investigation while still continuing along these lines of looking for the book, right? And while this is good, this shows that we have had progress as a Treasury agent and investigating something. The only connection I can make with the book is how can a man be skinned without there being a seam, right? And McGinnis's photo equipment showing up at the massacre's crime scene, right? Now, whether or not McGinnis has anything directly to do with the book or the massacre, it could just be convenient that maybe McGinnis and Driscoll know each other, and McGinnis has taken photos for Driscoll in the past. That would be something that I'm going to have to get a hold of Driscoll and find out, or get a hold of McGinnis and find out. But I don't know if this qualifies as keeping my promise, right? I followed up on the address. We followed up on the address. We followed up on the body. We followed up on the lead that Xavier had dropped. But how closer that gets me to the book is still kind of, it doesn't feel like getting much closer to the book. At least to Alex, it wouldn't feel like getting that much closer to the book, which kind of right now has kind of become that main goal. It feels like it's going to be getting pretty close to time to ask about getting the other group together and involved with Alex in some way, shape, or form. Now, was Driscoll was one of the player characters, right?
He was, and he's always been an NPC.
He was an NPC. Okay.
He
So
was
it's
there primarily to have a character everyone was familiar with in case someone lost a character that they could take on.
Okay.
At this point, however, Driscoll has become a PC.
Okay. And that's with Ivan and BC,
Brian
right?
Cornish and
BC.
Scott
Okay.
Erickson.
Scott Erickson. Scott Erickson has taken over Eddie Driscoll.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, while it would be interesting to talk to McGinnis, it doesn't seem like a conversation with him would advance my progress towards the book. And the mystery of the shoe and what they saw, the foot and the shoe in the wall, what happened. Yeah, I think it might at some point here soon. He's going to need to talk to Driscoll, so it may be worth reaching out or letting that group know that Thornton's probably headed their way.
Right. Yeah.
What time do they usually play? When do you usually get together with them?
8 Eastern.
8 Eastern?
PM.
8 p.m. Now, they're only an hour ahead of me. Okay. And what day are you guys usually getting together on? Thursday?
Just a couple hours.
Oh, just a couple hours?
7 hours from now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's 90% sure, unless there's something, because, I mean, it's Wednesday. I still got time before Dad's appointment on Friday.
Yeah, that's true. You're a day ahead of them. So it would have to be next week.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine.
They get to have an exciting visit with Tyler Prince first.
So unless there's anything that would come up where we need to have further continued separation right now at this point, that's going to be my next move, is to track down Driscoll, which would cause me to collide in the grand pool table of this game with that group.
Who can say? Who can say?
So yeah, I mean, just let me know if it's possible to coordinate a session with them,
Yeah, well,
or
if you can
if
be free, then it's totally possible to
well, I mean,
coordinate. So.
for me, but I'm saying something in game comes up, like aside from where I'm taking care of today with I can't call it a bust, but the discovery, uh, taking care of all that, like you said, it's taking to take care of all my time. So my day is definitely used up anyway.
Yeah.
But as a result of anything they might do, or that might occur between game time now and game time then,
Right.
just let me know when we might be able to coordinate something like that.
Right on. Will do.
And then Ivan will finally get his desire of finally getting these characters together.
Yes. Now that he's in such good condition. Yeah. When all the stuff is finally out, when all the when all the sessions that have been recorded at this point, as I'm speaking now, are finally out, it's going to be pretty interesting to see people's reactions to
Oh, yeah. Okay. No
the stuff.
spoilers.
No
No
spoilers.
spoilers. Because the last session of mine was the fight at the house, right?
That's been released. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the one I'm working on now is a Jimmy Calloway session.
Nice. It's kind of sad that, I mean, I see that you're getting views on them, on the videos.
Yeah,
I just
sometimes.
wish there was more comment, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Every once in a while there are comments.
Yeah.
But like everybody else, I think, people do or do not get notified, or they can't watch a video when it's released, and then
That reminds me of why, like in Facebook, I finally went in and was digging around through the settings for notifications, and I can't remember how I had it set, but there was a note. I don't know why, as an admin for a Facebook group, why by default it's not set to that you get a notification for every post, right? But mine wasn't set to that. It was set to like a standard default for notifications.
it
Ooh.
still doesn't matter.
I'm sure
will
it does.
alert you of fake posts. I get notified from groups that I'm responsible for where there's been no posts for a long time. That there were groups created for like play-by-post games, and I'll get notifications that somebody posted in this group, and then you'll check the date that they posted there, and like 2017. And this is at the
Nice.
top of my notifications and just stays there all day unless I delete the
Yeah.
notification. It's just,
Clear it.
it's not of much use. Yeah. Anyway, I gotta pack up shop.
Nope, it's all good. It's all good. All right.
It was a very
Thanks again.
bizarre session, but
You know, they've all contributed to the whole, I think. Overall, they continue to contribute to the whole.
yes. So you've now found a hanged man and 2 rooms filled with Thompson submachine guns and .45 caliber ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. And an angry housewife.
Yeah, who presumed that I was propositioning her for prostitution.
I think she was leaning more toward mistress.
Oh, well, yeah.
But none of those shenanigans, mister.
Yeah. All right, brother.
Take care.
Take it easy, man.